Okay, so thank you for coming today. What we'll be covering today is mostly how to kind of start a BuckyNet search, how to start having a BuckyNet account so that you can use this both during your time here at UW and then once you turn into a fantastic alumni, being able to use it as you proceed onward. So, just a little bit of history on what BuckyNet is and how it came to be on our campus. BuckyNet is supported by a recruiting system in the background called Simplicity. And in 2009, the College of Letters and Science, the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences, joined our partner school at that time in the School of Business and the Wisconsin Alumni Association to bring kind of one system to all of campus for students to look for both jobs and internships, as well as keep connections to on-campus interviewing and all those sorts of great career features. So although we're going to be going through kind of the LNS portal, if you want to call it, if you have a major in a different school or college, you can also access it through those. The only school at this point that is not part of our system grouping is the College of Engineering, and so if you had questions about that, I can direct you to the Engineering Career Services homepage. So this is our Career Services website at this point, and I've got a few pre-tab few sets of tabs already preset, so we don't have to kind of go through and punch around too much, but I'll walk you through how to get to each of these. So right at the top, you can see here is our web address. You can go ahead and bookmark that if you so choose. Otherwise, if you do go to the wisc.edu and you type in career services, we are the first hit. So hooray to that. So on here, you'll see that we're full career services, so we do pretty much everything. Always a good idea to pay attention to this little up-and-coming, workshops and events and different sorts of drop-ins. So one thing specifically related to BuckyNet, if you do have further questions or very specific questions that kind of come up later, you're always welcome to stop by on Tuesday nights from 4 to 6 to our drop-in hours. You can ask questions specifically about BuckyNet, and both peer advisors and full-time staff are there to kind of answer those questions. So here at the top, you'll see we have our different constituencies, and then we have a specific tab set up for BuckyNet. We pulled this out specifically so that students and employers could kind of go to one spot to be able to find their needs. Okay, so if you click on that BuckyNet tab, as you see selected here, it will take you straight to this page. Talks a little bit about kind of all of our partnerships here in the middle. And then over here, it breaks it down by students and employers. Kind of a first place that people get confused is if you end up clicking through some of the employer stuff, you're like, oh my goodness, how did I get here and how do I get out? You can always just come back to the BuckyNet page and then go into the students. So if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth understanding of kind of what it is, here's kind of a general layout of what it is and kind of some of the key features in it. In specific, there is another resource kind of embedded inside of BuckyNet called the Career Insider, which is really good for searching for good keywords. It's a paid subscription that the College of Letters and Science has that helps you kind of look for different jobs and internships by being able to get to the actual organization. So a lot of times students will come into our office looking for, an internship specifically relating to X or Y subject area, but they really can't articulate the kinds of organizations that they're interested in. So one of our first stops would be to take people to this Career Insider, and I'll show you exactly where to log in for that. So you can go and click here to get registered, and I know some of you are already registered, but if you're not, all you have to do is select your organization. So the School of Education and School of Nursing are partners on our kind of login page, so you can just ignore those two, but you can come up and do current students or UW-LNS alumni. So our office fully serves our alumni up to a full year out, so a whole 12 months of complete access. So everything that we do, you can take part in. Everything from on-campus recruiting, interviewing, workshops, job search groups, pretty much you name it, including our career fairs and our different career events. So you just go in here, but once you are registered for BuckyNet, you don't have to re-register ever again officially. So if you were, a new student coming in to register, you would fill out this form right here. Very simple information. And then what would happen is you'll get kind of a confirmation, and it gets sent to a recruiting coordinator in our office who will generate an account for you. Okay? So that kind of walks you through the very, very beginning part of how to get registered for BuckyNet. Once you are registered for BuckyNet, in that first email, you'll get a link, and that link will help you remember how to always log in. But if you misplace that email or forget to bookmark it or whatnot, you can always come back to the BuckyNet page, come right over here to the student login, and log in right from there. So sometimes people still have a hard time finding our link because it makes no sense. But if you do end up just Googling our software, you can come in from here, click on Students and Alumni, and it'll take you in. Okay, so today we're going to work with kind of a fake student we call lovingly Economics A sample. But really, it doesn't matter kind of what features you have, it will still kind of show you how to do things. So, any questions so far? No? Okay, cool. So really, when you start out in BuckyNet, there are a few places to think about first. So right down here where it says Getting Started, it will kind of walk you through kind of like a Facebook or a LinkedIn profile where it kind of shows you in waves how close you are to success and completion. So the account created will always come checked by the time you start. It'll move into your personal profile, academic profile, privacy settings, and then the resume tab. So if we go into profile, this is what starts to get filled in as you go through. So let's go into edit so we can kind of show you what that would look like. So your student ID will come pre-populated in from the form you submitted. This is where you can go in and double check that everything in your name was spelled correctly. In terms of an email, this, unlike other systems here on campus that are NetID authenticated, because we have access for our alumni who no longer have active NetIDs, we have it tied to a specific email address. So at this point, if you're a current student, please enter your wis.edu email address, and if you log in as an alumni later on, you can go in and update that to reflect a functioning alternative account to your wis.edu. And as more departments and organizations are really starting to look for alumni on our system, as the system's been around a lot longer, it's really important to make sure that when we prompt you about 2 months after graduation to update that you do so. If you ever have issues with that, you can always call our office, and we can still kind of modify your account so you can get in if you miss that point. Then you can go in and you can put your phone number in here as well. This is not a piece that is viewable to non-administrators. So, a fellow student who's on the system can't see your things, and employers can't see that unless you make it public. So, you can update, kind of what you're looking for. And this is something that's really important to kind of pay attention. So right now we have it set to this person's looking for a summer internship. Now, as you're moving forward, you may be thinking, okay, I'm seeking, full-time employment, and this one right here, not seeking employment. A lot of times students say, well, I'm not really sure what I'm looking for at this point. I don't really want to be in any specific category. So kind of the safety space for that is to click not seeking employment. You won't show up in any sort of search for anybody except for us as administrators when we look to see what student and alumni activity exists on the system. Okay? As you can tell here, you can select gender if you so choose, but it is not a force field to protect your identity and to make sure that you're not entering anything that could be used to discriminate against. Your current address is just to make sure that you have a feasible address in the system, but it doesn't have to be, whatever's registered with the university. You can change this at any time, so if you do the fantastic August 14th, August 15th move every year, you can update that whenever you need to. Okay? Permanent address is not required either. Okay? So moving on over from we started out here in the personal. Second step is to fill out the academic piece. This is oftentimes where we get a lot of students kind of freaking out. I will tell you right straightforward, it is not crazy. It's actually pretty simple once you get looking at it. So you select your school or college from the list above, and this can be more specific if you need to, but most students will fall into one of the major schools and colleges here on campus. Then you select what your status is. At this point, we do not have our system open to guests, so you do have to have some initial connection to the university in order to put yourself on here. And then you can select as many majors as you have. Now, mind you, in select cases, representation on BuckyNet as a current UW student can be part of your student records. So please make sure to pick things appropriately if you are not a declared major. I would strongly encourage you to use an undecided undeclared tag, which is available at the very bottom of the LNS grouping. Way down there, let's see if we can get that on the screen. Right down there at the bottom. So you can do that, and then that does not affect your ability to, let's say, apply for a specific position that, let's say, is asking for a biology major or is asking for a student with X or Y skills. It just means that you're kind of properly representing yourself. Then your year or class. This is also a relatively subjective category. So you can do one way or another, either by credit load. So if you're officially a senior but you're a third-year student, you can decide to pick a junior or a senior category, and you can come back to this at any time to update that, okay? Now, this is a place where I get a lot of questions, the work authorization. So this is put in place by some of the new regulations that have come down from the federal government in terms of needing to be able to safely recruit without kind of specifying what kind of a visa someone's on. So looking here, it's just will you ever or will you not? So just make sure you're reading that appropriately. And as I said, this can become part of your student record, so please choose appropriately. Okay, graduation date, also a required field, but one that you can modify as you see fit. So if you start out thinking, okay, May 2015 is when I'm graduating, and then you realize, okay, I'm going to take a little bit more time because maybe I've decided to pick up a second or a third major, you can switch that too. Then this is the area that I would like to spend a little bit of time because it sends people kind of spinning. So the great thing with kind of a resume on BuckyNet is you can upload one in order to kind of complete your profile, but just because it's uploaded doesn't mean that it has to be visible. So you can pick nobody, you don't want anybody to see it, you can pick only, organizations that are hiring directly for the organization, or you can be more broad. And really it's kind of thinking about, how wide do you want to cast your net in terms of potential employers contacting you and working from there. Okay? Any questions about releasing a resume and that authorization? We'll go with no. Okay, so down here you can continue to fill in additional information if you need to, but you don't have to. And sometimes starting out with a little bit more of a blank slate is a good idea. So we'll just keep going with it being pretty general and pretty open. So our third tab, and one that you can't go anywhere without completing, is a lot of the proving that you are who you say you are. So this click right here, my information is accurate, and this piece is really the part that once you've clicked this, it has become officially a university document. So make sure that everything you've put up there is accurate. I won't continue on that. Down here at the bottom is just the last little piece of kind of housekeeping. And this is where it talks about whether you want to get any notifications from the system. I strongly encourage you, even if you feel like your email does blow up on a regular basis, to leave that turned on. Set a filter in your email or something so it maybe goes out of your main inbox and into a separate one. But oftentimes if an employer is doing a really quick hire, let's say they've posted a position and it's only going to be out there for 4 or 5 days, we will go into the system and run a report on students who have those basic qualifying characteristics and specifically let them know that this posting is out there for only a few days. So sometimes it's a great way to get in on a quick hire, a great way to kind of see what you're being kind of targeted for in terms of positions, so that you know how you are being represented on the system. So resume books, this is something that employers can request, and we only allow this to happen for employers who are directly hiring for their organization. So let's say Microsoft regularly contracts with a third party to handle all their HR and recruiting needs. They would not be able to get a resume book. This would be only for Microsoft, recruiting for Microsoft. And this is where they can compile a list of students with specific characteristics that they've asked and requested for, and then we put that together, and then from there they may actually reach out. Once again, why you want to be receiving emails, they might reach out to candidates and say, hey, we'd like to invite you to campus for an interview on X date. Here's our position, let us know if you're interested in that. Some big name companies that have a tendency to do that would be Cargill, for example, Microsoft, Facebook, Dow Chemical, and right off the top of my head, I know that the Organic Valley company does that as well. So just a few to name right there. Down here you can choose to do text messages. I would say you're never going to get one really, but feel free to kind of do what you want with that. And then obviously you put in the date, and then once you save changes, basically means that you're authorizing this agreement to go into place. Okay, so that's kind of the nuts and bolts of kind of building your profile. Did that make sense? Yep, cool. Okay, so once you've kind of gone through and you've done that profile build, you're able to kind of start going through and doing everything. You want to always start out on the home page. Remember, I kind of talked a little bit about Career Insider at the very beginning. That's down here, over here, as well as another resource called Going Global if you are interested in an international opportunity. Kind of helps you a little bit with the discussion on visas and things like that. That would be a whole separate presentation, so we won't go there right now. So this is where you can get access to the Career Insider, where you can really get going on looking up, okay, what are some common fields for a student, doing BAC or doing environmental studies or, doing zoology out there. You can go in by major and see what kinds of types of positions tend to be that way. Emphasize on the tend. You can do a lot of things with a lot of majors in a lot of creative ways, depending kind of what else goes with your experience. So don't just stick with what's common. Do your own path too. So that's kind of the main frame here on the top. Always, interesting notes and kind of new things happening over here as well, so always check back. Something I will draw your attention to in this attend events, this will be anytime we have a major event happening on campus that is in conjunction with one of our partnering schools, it will be in here. So right now, coming up later in April, we do have the STEM Fair. So this is where you could go to and look at all the different registrants, all the different participants, the organizations that are coming, any positions they have posted, any interviews that they may be conducting, and you can really get a comprehensive picture of what their look is going to be like here on campus. Okay? So really where the magic happens, if you want to call it that, is in jobs. Yes, if you're looking for jobs or internships, they are all hiding under jobs. There's two categories here, BuckyNet jobs and NACELink network. So BuckyNet jobs is where we're going to spend our time today. NACELink ones would be, once again, a separate topic and probably less useful for the everyday student. So let's stick with BuckyNet jobs here. Okay, so let's start out with a clean slate so you can see where we go. So starting out, you'll see here that at this current point in time on BuckyNet, we have just over 1,400 positions posted. Now, unlike other job boards kind of across, the internet, these are all going to be active jobs. No job stays on our site for longer than 30 days, and no job just miraculously appears on our site without us knowing it got there. Each posting is is posted through our system through one of our recruiting coordinators in one of the schools and colleges. That said, it doesn't mean that we are putting the university's rubber stamp seal on the positions. We do strongly believe that with enough education, students and other partners will be able to look at the positions posted and make a distinctive choice for yourself. What is a good fit for one student isn't necessarily a good fit for another, so we do leave that to the student to begin that assessment. We are more than willing to sit down with the student and talk about the pros and cons to a position, and if you really do find something on there that you feel is strongly inappropriate, please do let us know, and we will A, pull the post, B, flag the company, and deliver any sanctions we need to. So just putting that out there. So because these postings kind of rotate on and off every 30 days at max, this number constantly changes. So between yesterday and today, this used to be 1389. Now we're at 1419. So a whole bunch have come in over the last couple of days. So always coming back and re-looking, rechecking is going to be your best fit. So if you go into position type, this is really kind of a good place to start. So once you've decided, okay, I want to do a search first on internships or I want to do a search on full-time, you can come in here and kind of pick what you want. If you're an undergrad, who's taken a more traditional path, maybe coming to college, not having done any full years of professional work, you are most likely going to end up picking this entry-level full-time or coming down and doing this part-time temp or the summer semester internship. We do have a few fellowships, we do have a few co-ops on there, but those will generally fall in medical fields and or engineering. So if you have a cross major with one of those, go ahead and take advantage of those. But let's do a quick internship search. So we're just going to pick that and nothing else. Leave everything else blank, and we'll kind of see going from 1419 down to 415. So you'll see right there that that whole grouping is really divided up across branches. If we had picked, let's say, the senior upper level management, we may have even come back with a 0, because really the purpose of this is to serve our current students and alumni in that first 5 years out. At this point, as it's around longer, we will obviously end up progressing into some upper level management positions being posted as well. So once you're here, you can really just start scrolling. Sometimes it can be very, oh my goodness, what are we doing? This is a lot. None of this is what I want. And that's kind of the first, kind of the initial point that we want you to reach is, hey, this is way too big. So first let's show you the size and scope of the beast, if you want to call it that, and then let's tailor it down so it better fits what we're doing. So if we just wanted to leave it like this, we could, but as I said, way too big. So if we go up to this advanced search feature right here, this is really where we can start getting specific. So just like you would do with a library search, you start out with one keyword and you get thousands and thousands of hits and you're like, there's no way I'm going to weed through that. You find one article that looks interesting, you look at what else it's got, linked in the keywords, and you can start, refining down your search. So this has kind of got that same objective. What I would do is ignore this search agents at the beginning, this very selecting one, and just come up here and do a save as, okay? And think about, okay, what is this going to be? So we've already talked that it's an internship search, because we kind of started with that premise. And let's say we want to do a bio-related search, and let's just start with just that, okay? Let's do all jobs and interviews. Always good to get a comprehensive picture. Let's do check with no majors. So this would be if an employer doesn't necessarily know the exact majors we have here on campus. Since we have so many, oftentimes they will leave it blank, or they will pick kind of an all majors category. But let's say we want to go a little farther than that. Let's go down to LNS. And then let's pick, we'll just go with the general biology at this point. Okay. Then you see here our next option is ignore jobs with an all majors selected. Let's say no. Let's not ignore them. That can be kind of confusing. If you say yes, you would like to ignore. We've got that summer semester internship already selected there. And then here's where you can start getting specific. you can pull down and you can do by a job function. So let's say you wanted to do a lot with, community service as it relates to biology. You could click that and then hit just a great, run on there. Or you can leave that blank and then come down here and pick some industry categories. And these two boxes, the industry category and the job function, that's where that Career Insider resource really kind of helps you. It will tell you, okay, this organization tends to post as this industry. So, for example, something like Procter & Gamble is going to go under a whole slew of categories depending on what they're recruiting for. So if you're thinking, okay, I really would like to work at a large company with multiple departments, multiple capacities, 3M is another notorious one for being kind of all over the place. You may need to kind of go through and do multiple searches to come up with a comprehensive picture. So let's stay with the life science. Let's stay with Wisconsin. We're here. Let's stay here. That'll work for us right now and will not. Once again, it will, like I said, you set this in your specific profile, but it will let you search for an alternative format. So just think of it that way. Let's hit submit. And sometimes that happens, and I'm glad it happened when we are kind of doing this together, because that's going to show us that there's a piece or a component that we didn't get quite right. So I'm assuming what happened in here is that there were certain things that were clicked on that were voiding out something else. So if you have too many locations pinned together, it kicks people out. If you had too few search categories, it will kick people out. But let me pull up one that we've done previously. Okay, so this is kind of the refixed version of what we did before, really pulling in those pieces that we needed. So on here, it always shows you kind of what you've got going here. So let's come down and try. I know at least one person in our audience enjoys working with children, so let's try going out to this one. So very much has an environmental focus to it, is working with children, as you can probably assume from the camp situation. And what you'll find in here are a whole bunch of different pieces. First of all, starting up at the top, it'll tell you what the position's called, the organization that's posting it, the date that it was originally posted on. So remember I said things aren't on here for longer than 30 days? If we're counting backwards, January 25th is longer than 30 days. You're like, what the heck, lady, right? So if a position comes up expired and they haven't filled it, they are asked if they would like to repost. So it's still a fresh post every 30 days, so we don't have any, filled positions still camping out on the system, but they are allowed to re-up it if they haven't filled it. But it will always maintain that original post date when you go farther in. Okay? So here it kind of talks a little bit about, who the organization is, starts talking about what the responsibilities are of this position. Down here in this big mumbo jumbo is where they're looking for qualifications. So here you'll see a natural science, you'll see environmental education, or related field. And this is why when I said, okay, pick the majors you want or that you are currently in, even if you have interests in more diverse areas, oftentimes employers will pull that related field area, and that will still allow you to apply. Okay. And as we're coming down, we'll see, okay, it's in the Wisconsin Dells, so, totally drivable from where we currently are. Desired class levels, authorization, and then it comes down here and it'll talk about salary level. Sometimes it will be unspecified. Oftentimes students think, okay, that means unpaid. Not necessarily. That's the way that sometimes they'll put down based on experience. So if they have somebody coming in with 2 years of experience, no experience, whatnot, they can kind of modify that. This down here at the bottom where it says contact information, this is kind of another key feature of BuckyNet, is there's always contact information on a posting. Unlike maybe on large search engines that I will leave nameless, where you can't really kind of tell where things are coming from and you can't really find somebody to contact about them, so you're kind of left thinking, am I going to apply into the oblivion that is this site, or can I follow up? This is where you can follow up because this is our system versus generic A. So let's say you're like, yes, I am interested. I would like to apply. All you'd have to do is, if your BuckyNet account is up and ready to go, you'd hit apply. It'll ask you what resume you want to upload. You can pick one. You can upload a new one. So although you may have uploaded a generic one, we always encourage you to do one specifically for each position you apply to. So you'd be able to upload it, for this person. It would be sample resume for, whatever it is, and they'd be able to do that. If you have a cover letter that you needed to upload, it would have specified, please submit resume and cover letter. You can still always apply with a cover letter. We encourage that, but your option to add it there. And then sometimes, let's say that employer had contacted you and had said, please apply, we want to put you on our interview schedule in 2 weeks. You could write a comment here to them saying welcome, thanking them for extending that welcome to you and that you look forward to hearing from them soon or whatnot, and put it right in the submission. Okay, so you'd hit submit, and then it would go into a jobs you've applied for category. Okay, we won't hit it because I don't want to confuse the employer at this point. So if you're kind of coming back out into this jobs category, you can always find the applications up here, right in here. Okay, it'll even show you what attachments you sent. So if they say, oh, I didn't get it, you can always re-forward it from there. So that's nice. Kind of tracks what you're doing, which is great. It will also save your searches. So remember how I said, okay, we fixed that one and now we have one that works? So it's right down here. So if we had called it, some students start saying, okay, I'm going to do an internship and I want it to be in communications along with environmental, along with Chicago. They will type out internships, Chicago, environmental, communications in there so that they can just hit this run every time they come back without having to remember all the key search features that they previously had. So you can set up, I think the max I've ever done on here in terms of saved searches is about 250. So if you really have a lot of needs, it will let you go up to 250 before it starts getting mad at you, or it says this search is a duplicate, which is actually what it ends up saying. So you can hit that, and then it will just refresh that list. It will kick off any old positions that have since expired, pull in any new positions, and just kind of keeps yourself running. So you can, as you can see, there are a lot of versions, and people calling them whatever you need to call them. So that's that. Let's say you had found, let's go back into this run I did before. Okay. Let's say we had decided that one, we weren't ready quite to apply to it, but it still looked pretty cool. So you can go here and you can star it, which basically favorites it, just like it does with any website or whatnot. If you're used to using, Chrome or Firefox or whatnot, now you see it's got a little star next to it. Oh, yay. Fantastic. So let's say you're going through and you're just kind of, picking and choosing the ones that sound interesting. When you come back up later and you go into your My Favorites, it's going to show you all the different jobs that you selected that sounded cool. What you can do then is get even, more involved with the system if you want, and go through and rate them. So, if you're thinking, okay, I really want to get myself organized on here, I have a lot of interest, I'm going in a lot of different areas. Let's say this first one is, 3-star. This one's a 2-star. It's going to help you go through and know which to apply to when. You can do a sort by date, position type, employer, whatever you need. You can also do a printable job list. Okay, I thought I was going to freak out at us. Okay, because we're not connected to a specific printer, it won't let us do kind of a print preview. But what it does for you is it prints out kind of the key information about the position, so the deadline date, all of that in a nice, concise list. So if you need to, walk away with it, or you're somebody who, when push comes to shove, likes something in your hands to be able to mark off, check off, highlight, whatever, you can do it from there. And it really lets you kind of customize. Before we get too far into anything, I do want to mention these little numbers over here. These numbers are the specific IDs for the posting. So like with this one that had been reposted twice, this number changes each time. So if you are thinking, okay, I just want to get back to that one post or whatnot, or sometimes on campus, especially in materials we send out, we'll say, check out such and such posting, here's the BuckyNet ID. This is what we mean by BuckyNet ID, okay? So you can always type that into your search. Instead of coming out and doing an advanced search, you can just go into that one and do it that way, okay? So that's kind of how to do a search on BuckyNet and some of those key features in the advanced search once you've kind of got your feet wet a little bit. Any questions about that? Nope? Still going good? Cool. So I think this will probably be our last section for the day, but I do want to show you another area, which is this employers. What differs BuckyNet from other systems too is that we keep record of all the employers that have ever posted on our system. So let's say you're thinking, I wonder if 3M has ever come to campus, or I wonder if I don't know why I keep thinking of Cargill, but Cargill. Let's see if Cargill ever comes to campus. You could go over to the C's. And then you could scroll down and find them that way, or you could come up here and see, oh yes, even when I spell it incorrectly, they still come up. And you will see here another one of the features that sometimes happens. Cargill is in here 4 different times. As a large company with a lot of subsidiaries that they have listed themselves out in every category they can possibly think of. So you can go into the description of the organization, read a little bit about where it is. Oftentimes this will be the address for the main home office, so they may have area offices in other places, but at least lets you kind of know where they're at. If they fill this out properly, they will kind of have here an additional bullet point about kind of who they are on the large scale. Then you can see here what industry they've put themselves in. So let's say that you have always been dreaming of working for Cargill, but you also want to see who else does similar things. Remember how I said you can go through Career Insider and find some of those industries? Also looking through here, when you go back in and do a food engineering search, let's say, Cargill's going to pop up because those pieces are linked together. If they have available positions, they will be listed here. At this point, Cargill tends to do most of their hiring in the fall, so they are not currently recruiting. If they are coming to a career fair, they will show up here, and these will be to upcoming career fairs. So if you're tracking a company that sounds awesome, you can do it that way. And then over here at the right, you can go and add it to a favorite. So just the same way that you did for a job, it'll pop up in your employer favorites. So as you see here, employer favorites, it would end up in here. And then over here on the side, this is whatever website they have submitted as theirs. So a question I often get from students is, what's the difference between applying on the organization's website versus applying through BuckyNet? Sometimes employers will give a slightly different URL for BuckyNet, and it's specific. Their system is smart, and it knows to track where applications are coming from. And let's say they are really interested in hiring badgers, and they see it come through this. That's going to be an earlier pool that they're going to go through before they start going through a generic random one-off at their website. Oftentimes it will also help you from having to create an entirely new profile on their system, and there are some employers who make you still do it that way. So don't assume that just because that they still don't have the connection to our university. Every company does things just a little bit differently. Okay, so that's kind of where that comes in. You can go through and look for contacts. These are a little bit harder to find just because employers oftentimes will protect their specific information the same way that we respect that students would like to kind of keep their information private. So do they. This way you can always find a general email. If you ever have questions, you can ask us in the Career Services office. Events and calendars over here, just in case you're interested. This will be where, for example, in events you can go. Ooh, it hates me now. Go back. Anyway, we'll come over here instead. So if you went into the events in the calendar, this is where it would show you any of the different workshops that are coming up. This would also come up. The STEM fair would come up in there at this point, but you can see it kind of charted out. And that is specific to each school and college. So it will just show you LNS related events, or it will just show you CALS related events or business or whatnot. So that's kind of a general overview of everything that, kind of on the surface, that specifics that BuckyNet has to offer. But I do want to show you what you would have to go to if you wanted to log in as an alumni, 2 and 3 years out. All you'd have to do is go to the WAA site, so the Wisconsin Alumni Association, and then straight from there, you can just search for BuckyNet, and it will come up right here. And as always, if you do email them, they will email you back. Sometimes students forget their logins or whatnot. You can register and log in. It will just, if you have an account and you type in your stuff, it'll say, hey, welcome back, and it'll yank your account over from us over to them. Or if you've never had one, or for some reason you deactivated it or whatnot, you can change all your information there as well. So yeah, so really once you start getting a hang of BuckyNet, it ends up being a really useful system. You can customize it to kind of fit what you need to do, and really at any point, any questions you have, you can feel free to contact us at Career Services, and if you're in multiple schools and colleges, please feel free to use resources on all ends. But thank you for your time today, and we'll talk to you later.